Good afternoon. It's Thursday, March 17th. I'm Laura Cornfield, and this is IBA News, broadcasting from Jerusalem. Meir Dagan, the former head of the country's Mossad agency and a decorated general, passed away this morning in Tel Aviv's Ichilov Hospital at the age of 71 after a battle with cancer. The agency issued a statement saying that Mossad head Yossi Cohen, the heads of departments, and the members of the Mossad are deeply saddened and express their condolences to the Dagan family. IBA's Margot Dudkevich reports about the man who dedicated his entire life to making Israel safe.
Meir Dagan, the son of Holocaust survivors, was appointed head of the Mossad in 2002 and led the agency for 8 years before retiring in 2011. During his tenure as head of Israel's spy agency, the Mossad was credited with the assassination of 5 Iranian scientists and the destruction of equipment related to the Islamic Republic's nuclear program. In 2008, Hezbollah's defense minister Imad Munir was assassinated in a bomb attack in Syria, an operation that was reportedly conducted by the Mossad together with the CIA. Dagan served for 32 years in the army, reaching the rank of Major General, and was credited with leading some of the army's most daring missions. After leaving the army, Dagan served as counter-terrorism advisor to the government during Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's first term, and as national security advisor to the late Prime Minister Ariel Sharon. In 2012, he underwent a liver transplant in Belarus. He later suffered complications and was hospitalized in critical condition, but eventually recuperated. Dagan's concern for Israel's future never held him back from voicing his opinion. Last year, he criticized Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Minister of Education Naftali Bennett, accusing them of leading the country towards a binational state, which he warned would be the end of the Zionist dream. He also criticized Netanyahu's handling of the Iranian nuclear issue, accusing him of damaging Israel's strategic position in his attempt to stop Iran from getting a nuclear weapon, and turning Iran into an Israeli problem. Condolences from the entire political spectrum poured in, with government leaders and officials united in calling Meir Dagan a fearless warrior and fighter. Meir Dagan was a daring commander and warrior who contributed greatly to the security of the State of Israel, Prime Minister Netanyahu said. Throughout his life, the photo of his grandfather, humiliated by the Nazis before he was murdered in the Holocaust, was always at the forefront of Meir's mind. Meir was determined to ensure that the people of Israel would no longer be without a defense shield, and he dedicated his life to the State of Israel, Netanyahu said. President Reuven Rivlin, currently in Moscow on a state visit, called Dagan one of the greatest and most brave warriors. The president recalled that last year Dagan, whose grandfather was murdered by the Nazis, asked him to read out the names of family members who perished in the Holocaust. Dagan represented for me and for many others the Holocaust and the rebirth that came after it, Rivlin said. Describing Dagan as a friend and comrade in arms, Chief of Staff Gadi Eisenkot said Israel lost a man and a commander whose life was interwoven with the affairs of his time. Margot Dudkevich, IBA News.
Earlier, IBA's Margot Dudkevich spoke to intelligence expert Yossi Melman about the former Mossad chief.
The transformation that he undergone from a narrow-minded right-winger who saw the Israeli security problems through the eye of the gun, to a statesman who realized that Israel should not rely only on its military strength, but it needs to make inroads into the hearts and minds of the Palestinian people and to have a deal with the Palestinians. I think this is his legacy. He was appointed as head of the Mossad based on his military experience as a man of operations, but after a little bit of a struggle and difficulties to understand the work of intelligence, he changed his view and realized that intelligence and military operations are just supplementary in order to secure the existence of Israel, are just part of a larger picture that Israel needs to have friends in the world, especially America, the United States, and to make peace with the Palestinians.
Terror struck again today. A 20-year-old female soldier was seriously wounded after she was attacked by two knife-wielding Palestinians. The soldier was stabbed in the upper body as she got off a bus at the entrance to Ariel in Samaria this morning. Soldiers deployed nearby shot and killed the two terrorists. Paramedics treated the soldier before transferring her to the Beilinson Hospital in Petah Tikva for further care. The two Palestinian attackers were identified as Ali El-Kar, age 20, and 19-year-old Ali Takata, both from Beit al-Fajr near Bethlehem. And this just in, a suspected attack in Jerusalem. Police are reporting a stabbing attack in a mall in the capital's Talpiot neighborhood. According to initial reports, a man was lightly injured. It is unclear whether the perpetrator was caught. Police are checking whether the attack was criminally motivated or of nationalistic nature. On the second day of an official state visit to Russia, President Reuven Rivlin met this morning with leaders of the local Jewish community. Rivlin is also slated to meet Russian Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev before returning to Israel at midnight. Yesterday, during talks with his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin, at the Kremlin, Rivlin emphasized Israel's concerns, laying out the country's red lines regarding Syria. The Israeli president stressed Israel would by no means accept the presence of Iranian armed forces near the Golan Heights and expressed hope that UN peacekeeping forces along the northern border would be returned after their departure in 2013. Putin assured Rivlin that Moscow was committed to Israel's security, stressing he had a personal commitment towards all the Russians who immigrated to Israel. During their talks, Putin also announced that he will soon meet Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to discuss security in the region. Well, it's Thursday, and joining us now in the studio to shed some light on the top news stories of the week is Amotz Asael, a senior columnist for the Jerusalem Post and the Dow Jones Market Watch. Thank you so much for joining us, Amotz. First, let's begin with today's passing of former Mossad head Meir Dagan, who, along with his tremendous contributions to the state security, was also known as a staunch critic of Netanyahu's saber rattling on Iran. How would you describe his legacy?
I would say that the main part of his legacy is not the politics, which easily meshes into the familiar contours of Israeli politics. He had views that many others have and many others dispute. His legacy is, first of all, as a general in the IDF, where he was considered a very bold warrior since the 70s, and most significantly as head of the Mossad, where he restored a much necessary spirit of stratagem and bellicosity that had previously been damaged by several years of operational paralysis due to several botched operations back in the 90s.
Amotz, let's turn to another development that made the headlines this week, and that's Russia's sudden announcement that it will pull out its forces from Syria. What, in your opinion, is behind that decision?
I think the Russians are displaying here a very impressive shrewdness that makes them, for now, the big winner in the Syrian civil war. They know what they want and they're getting there. They have very coldly calculated that the military intervention to which they resorted back in the fall has spent itself and brought them dividends, and they now want to translate them into diplomatic currency. If conversely they would now expand or deepen their military presence and intervention, they might be repeating their own Afghan trauma. They're intent on avoiding that. And so they're pulling back. This is not going to be a complete retreat. Everybody understands that they will retain the air base that they built last year outside Latakia, and certainly the naval base that they inherited from the Soviet Union. So in this they will retain, but they will avoid penetrating deeper into Syria, and they will also reduce the number of troops. And at the same time, they will be looking to be the ones who, more than anyone else, map the future Syria.
What are the implications of this announcement in terms of Israel's security?
I think that there are pros and cons. The cons are that if indeed the ceasefire that the Russians brokered holds, and if indeed the retreat has its own momentum and Hezbollah ends up leaving Syria, then they become much more of an immediate menace. Even though they're very hurt by their Syrian experience, Israeli intelligence sources believe that about a third of Hezbollah's troops have been either killed or injured. Some 5,000 troops, about 1,500 of them fatalities. So they're severely hurt as an organization, but they remain very well equipped and highly motivated. So that's on the risk side. On the opportunity side, if indeed Russia is the new broker of a new Syria, and if indeed, as the impression grows, Russia wants to break down Syria into fiefdoms, into cantons that will add up to a confederation, and Russia becomes within that structure a kind of sponsor or even provider of cement, then that might be good for Israel, because Russia, for its own reasons, will not want any of those components of a new Syria creating trouble of any sort, including along Israel's borders.
Turning on to another contentious topic this week, it was the bill that would bar conservative and reform converts from using public ritual baths known as mikvahs. The bill passed an initial cabinet vote, stirring up, of course, quite a great deal of debate. Where do things stand, and what are the ramifications of such a law?
Well, the specific bill that was tabled this week and still has to pass 3 readings in the Knesset in order to become legislation is a bit esoteric. This is about who gets to call the religious rules within the state-run 750 or so ritual baths. Ritual baths, for those who don't know, are where Jewish women, according to Jewish law, need to dip once a month between menstruating and having sex, and also where converts need to dip as part of their conversion process. The big political debate is whether everything that happens in there will happen by the Orthodox rules or by non-Orthodox rules. For instance, women who want to dip in the mikvah before having sex but without being married, which is a growing phenomenon of observant women who have premarital sex or for whatever reason do not marry and want to have sex. They want to go there, and they're asked over there by the ritual bath warden, who is always someone from the Orthodox establishment, whether they're married. People want that to be canceled. The bill wants, of course, to fight this. It comes into the broader context that I guess we have no time to discuss, of the changes that the government wants to institute at the Western Wall, and ultra-Orthodoxy opposes.
Quite a busy time ahead of us then. Thanks so much for being with us, Amotz, and we'll see you next week. The Jewish Agency is recruiting young people from Israel and around the world to volunteer in distressed communities abroad. Project 10 creates an opportunity for young Jews to assist in the fields of agriculture, education, and community work. IBA's Margot Dudkevich spoke with Daniel Ashheim, Project 10's Marketing and Public Relations Director, who says the program is all about tikkun olam, or repairing the world.
10 is currently the largest tikkun olam program in the Jewish world. We are talking about a project that's running for the past 3.5 years. We have more than 800 alumni from Israel and from all around the Jewish world who come to volunteer centers which we run and operate around the world. So we have 5 centers, 2 of them in Israel and 3 outside of the country. And they actually do real sustainable development, international development, tikkun olam. They work in the fields of agriculture, public health, and informal education.
Volunteers participate in projects in Israel as well as abroad, with some sent to far-flung communities in Ghana and Mexico.
Currently we have 5 different centers, one of them up north in Kibbutz Arduf, the other one down south in Arad, mostly working in coexistence projects with the Bedouin communities. Besides the Israeli centers, we have one center which is located in the jungles of Oaxaca in Mexico. The second center is located in a fisherman's village of Winneba in Ghana. And the third center is located in the second largest city in Ethiopia, Gondar. We are expecting to open another center in May in South Africa and in the beginning of next year in Peru.
Not all the projects involve working with Jewish communities, but the Israeli volunteers are well received.
One of the pillars of the program, besides the goodwill for the environment and for societies and bring back to the populations all around the world, because we live in one big global village today, The other pillar is bringing together young Jews from all over the world. So we bring together Israelis and Jews from all over the world who share common values.
Project 10 is open to anyone aged 18 to 31. Volunteers undergo training sessions before they set out.
They come to us for a few days training in the Jewish Agency's headquarters. We bring them professionals to discuss the ethics of international development, the project themselves, what it encompasses. But besides that, they also have intensive trainings at the centers. So before they start working with the population, they get training on the specific projects that they're going to be joining later on.
Billed as the Jewish Peace Corps, the Jewish Agency project allows participants to work towards a better world and promote values of giving and social responsibility.
In some of the communities we work with, we were actually the first Jews or Israelis that had ever seen or heard of. We work always with a local partner on the ground. We have a partner who is from the local community, who tells us what their real needs are. Whoever is interested to join the program, we are calling for everyone who is eager to do this, to contact us, so they can apply through our website. It's 10program.org line, apply, and also our Facebook page has all the information, Project 10, Be the Change. They can email us, phone us, it's all open.
Margot Dudkevich, IBA News.
Israel became the first country in the world to launch a mobile video emergency app developed by the Reporti company. At the press of a button, operators manning emergency services will be able to see live video footage of the scene and assess the situation, as well as chat with callers. The app will allow members of the public to inform emergency services of an accident or possible terror attack and provide them with a location video broadcast. New technology developed by the company will also allow reports from areas with poor reception. Reporti was founded by Amir Elichai and former Prime Minister Ehud Barak, who invested in the project and also serves as company chairman. At a press conference yesterday, Barak said the app will allow authorities and municipalities to organize quickly and respond to incidents in real time, minimizing waste of time and resources. A bit of culture now, and the works of renowned composer Johann Sebastian Bach will be performed during the upcoming days across Jerusalem as the capital hosts its first International Bach Festival. The 5-day happening, which kicks off tonight and runs through Monday, the date of Bach's birthday, will feature recitals, concerts, lectures, and a multicultural event to celebrate the anniversary of the German composer's birth. Events will take place at different venues across the capital, with a few concerts in Tel Aviv and Zichron Yaakov. The diverse program will debut international conductors and music ensembles, as well as exceptional performances such as From Bach to the Beatles by the Jerusalem Street Orchestra, and a special concert titled Bach Marimba, designed for the entire family.
Sometimes look at these pictures of Bach. He's an old man, very formal, very stiff with his wig, and we sort of get a little bit afraid of him or think, he doesn't speak to us. But actually, he's a very lively character. He was always in trouble. If you want just beautiful harmonies, you'll find it. If you want wonderful architecture, you'll find it. If you want great color and drama, you'll find it. So it's all there, and there is no rule about how you have to approach Bach.
Turning to local financial news, shares were down in the end-of-week trading on the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange, while the shekel was mixed in foreign currency trading. Here are the late afternoon numbers. Turning to the weather, and the forecast is calling for a slight rise in temperatures, along with occasional rain showers across the country. Here's a look at the highs and lows at home and abroad for the next 24 hours. And that brings us to the end of this broadcast. Ari O'Sullivan will be back here on Sunday for another daily edition of IBA News. I'm Laura Cornfield, wishing you a good evening, a great weekend, and shalom from Jerusalem. We leave you now with the sights and sounds of the Jerusalem Street Orchestra rehearsing for its performance at the Bach Festival.